So, hello everybody. My name's Jo Fairley. I'm the editor of On the Scent magazine, which you can find downstairs. And this panel is very special because it's really looking at what it takes from having a dream, having a concept, to actually getting it into a bottle and onto the shelf and, at Barnes Fragrance Fair. So what goes on behind that? But I think even if you're not starting a fragrance brand, there's stuff here for everybody to learn. What I've learned in business, having initially founded my first startup, which was a little old chocolate brand called Green and Blacks, with my husband, who's just down there. Mm-hmm. Business is business. And I've now had, I think, 6 or 7 different businesses. And actually, the challenges are the same for all of them. But there are, of course, specifics to fragrance. We are going to punctuate the session with smelling things, which, of course, is why we're all here in Barnes. So there will be some lovely things to smell. There will be some ingredients to smell from Man. We have the perfumer here, Cristiano Canali. Have I got that right? Yes. So we also have Mark Loveday from Poshpack, who are he's going to explain who you are, but many of the bottles that you will see downstairs have passed through Mark's hands.
Well, not literally. But, I'd like to think that Nikki had some help with that, and also Kate. So there's my team over there. But,
and we also have Sebastien Tissot, who is the founder of Nisaba. I'm going to smell a couple of Nisaba fragrances. And we've got Sebastien here because he's really done the whole thing. He's gone from the dream to the bottle. So he can give the picture on the whole thing. And I think we all know that a successful fragrance is a kind of alchemy. It's the alchemy of an idea and a juice and a bottle and how it all looks, and then probably how it's marketed as well. But actually, I think, I wasn't quite sure where to start, but I think we should start with the bottle, actually. I know we say from dream to bottle, yes. But I think we should put the bottle first, because it actually is a really crucial part of the success of a brand. But Mark, would you just, in your own words, explain who Poshpack are?
Thank you, Jo. Well, Poshpack are a small UK company. We are a distributor of Poche luxury glass for the perfume industry, and we've been doing that for a number of years. We also decorate on those bottles, and we sell pumps and caps. And our main aim is to support the perfume community, the independent perfume community, which is where we want to be, and I think it's the most exciting part of the industry at the moment. We're not a large company, but we focus on startups and artisanal brands from all over the world. So the great thing for us is that as a UK company, the majority of our business is outside the UK, because this market, which we're all here today, and it's been a brilliant event, I'm sure we can all agree this is tremendous, but it's something that is global. And small perfume brands around the world need that help to start up with, because the creativity is there everywhere. The market is there from the clients, the customer base. They want this product. So that's what we do. We try and help.
Looking around the exhibition, give us a couple of brands that you have worked with.
Well, we were just talking about it, Nikki and myself and Kate. Probably 15 of the brands currently on show we would be working with. Maya, of course, we work with Nick and Sarah, we work with Jack, and we work with Angela Flanders, or Kate Flanders. There's a large group of them, and many of them with us for 10, 12 years, and we started in a very small way. And I often talk about the beginning where we work at the very, very early stages, and one of the clients you have out there, Maya, is a perfect example of that, because some 13 years ago, she came into our office, came into our factory, started looking at various bottles, and chose 1 or 2 different shapes. And she would come in on the bus and buy 1 carton of bottles or 2, put them in an IKEA bag and get the bus back to Ealing Broadway. And I said to Nikki, wow, this kid has got so much determination. She's really going to, I'm sure she'll be successful. And to watch the progress of her and people like Sarah, who came in exactly the same way. And if I had one thing to say about what we do, is that we believe in the creativity of the perfumer. We're happy to work with very, very small quantities, one box, 40 bottles, 80 bottles, 100 bottles. That isn't the point. The point is how to make a relationship, a communication, sort of a posh pack language is what we tend to refer to it as, which is not a language of words. It's more a language of feeling, of understanding, of relationship. And that's what we do. We build relationships around the world from our small base in the UK, and we're very proud of that.
And it is, I know from talking to some of the brands that you work with, it goes way beyond the bottle, because I suppose that you have these insights into the various different stages of a fragrance brand's journey.
Yes.
And you do a fair bit of hand-holding, don't you?
We do, and I think that's it's exciting because that's the education side. People come into the industry from all walks of life. Artists are coming in creating their first fragrance, people from the fashion industry creating their first fragrance. And the understanding of the process, I think, which the guys will know equally, it's something that isn't readily available. So what we found was that being open, transparent, having the conversations and saying, actually, you don't have to buy our bottle. There's plenty of bottles out there. There's many suppliers. But if you are going to do that, make sure that the neck of your bottle fits the pump of your bottle, and that you do your own compatibility testing. You don't listen to other people. If you want samples, yes, we can do that. But you understand the inside of the industry is difficult from the outside, and it's sort of 15 years ago, it was closed. And I like to think that we've helped open that up, because being transparent and saying yes you can as opposed to no, which was normally based around volumes. And again, 15, 20 years ago, it was if you don't buy 10,000 bottles, you can't be a perfumer. Simple as that.
You were explaining to me when we chatted that, as you said with Maya, sometimes you can just buy a box.
Exactly, but you have to start somewhere. So what we find now, and one of the great joys of doing what we're doing, is around the world we get perfumers from, recently we've had a perfumer from Tasmania, we had one from Southern California asking us, they're making a fragrance, it's going to be the scent of a dude ranch, minus the manure, but...
a little bit of indole never hurt anybody.
Yeah, and they're be coming at it from a complete... They've got a perfumer, but the next stage, how to actually get it out there. And again, the guys will know that in the industry, the two components that you should be doing, first of all, the two primary components are the juice, the fragrance, and the bottle. Once you've got those two connected up, you're going in the right direction. But it's getting that information out, which is really key.
And we were also, of course, mentioning that you can go to China and you can get bottles in China, but it's a different thing. And you said one of the pitfalls is that sometimes the spray that you've ordered doesn't match your bottle. It
doesn't, yeah. I mean, I think that, again, this is education, and we try and be transparent on this. But yes, you can go anywhere. You can buy a bottle in Europe, you can buy a bottle in China. Most of the pump manufacturers are European. The industry, as we talked, is a European-based industry, France and Italy, Germany. But if you start cross-pollinating, it's your responsibility to make sure it all works. And quite often we'll have a client say, well, why doesn't this work, Mark? I said, where did you get the pump from? I got them and they came in from China and they don't fit. But that isn't really, I think that's a choice. But one of the things that I think we've been talking about, I want to mention specifically about what we do, is that sort of definition of luxury in glass, the definition what we feel. I mean, our strapline is the art of luxury glass, and for years we've been involved with artists and supporting artist installations and supplying bottles and things. But I started to look at the word luxury in a different way, and the way I feel it is now is that it's the luxury of knowing that the product you're using, the glass bottle you're using, is made by a company that has people at the front of it, that believes in protecting the planet, it believes in looking after its people, it has a sustainability, it has an ethical standards, and all those things add to your product. So if your product and your fragrance is wonderful, then you really want to have a wonderful bottle that you can feel is luxury, and that luxury isn't always a gold cap or a heavy base or or whatever else you might want to do with it. It's, I think it's a more important aspect to it.
So do you think that brands come to you, I mean, you make beautiful bottles, but
Yes.
do you think you've also acquired this slight reputation for hand-holding and therapy to start up brands, etc.?
I don't know. Yes, I think so. I think we have, and I think that's something we're very proud of. That reputation relationship, I mean, people only recommend you to somebody else if they feel that you have something to offer and you've offered them and they can trust you. I think trust and transparency are something that we believe in Poshpack and our company, and we believe in listening and working with people. We had an inquiry, I think on Friday, a customer from New York City wanted 6 or 7 of our Mayvar bottles just to trial out something, a little experiment. Fine, they go out, we don't charge for samples. I think the hand-holding, yes and no, and the same could apply to the guys here with the fragrance. There's a lot of hand-holding going on there. For us, it's because of the nature of the client we look for. We actively work with the very, very small independents, the artisanal brands that are starting out on that journey.
It may become huge.
Many of them do. We have. That's not to say we haven't worked with some incredibly large brands. I mean, we've worked personally with some very, very large brands that are global. But it's not as exciting working with the large brands. You know, they ultimately disappear. Working with small perfumers who own their brand, who want their brand, who love their brand. That's something that we like to feel we're a part of, and that's the most important thing. And I often say to clients, perfumers, how much do you love your brand? If you do, this is, get the best bottle, get the best fragrance, don't compromise, and start small and grow. And there are many, many who have grown tremendously all over the world. So for us, a small company based in the UK, most of our business is outside the UK now, because the growth in this incredible market, and you'll know that big brands are looking down because there's not so much activity going up top, but there's a huge amount of it happening for us.
In terms of creativity.
Yeah, absolutely, and the creativity is incredible. And I think that the new generation of perfume buyer doesn't want to be told what they like. They want to discover it themselves. They want to find it themselves. Maybe it's challenging, maybe it's not. But they certainly don't want to go to Sephora and be told this is what you should be wearing. And this event here is all about interesting, challenging, independent perfumers with their stories. And that's what Poshpack stands for. That's what we believe in. And we do as much hand-holding as it takes to get the client moving forward.
And if you had one piece of advice for somebody who is thinking of starting their own fragrance brand, what would that crystallized piece of advice be?
It's not really one piece of advice. I think you'd have to take it slowly. Don't rush anything. Have a look at what the bottle you want. You can't have everything straight away. Most people would have to start with something that exists. And remember, if you get it right, that bottle will be your iconic shape for the next 20 years. I mean, Chanel hasn't changed their bottle shape. But, it's there. We all know that. So if you can get that right, work with the right company, just throw in, honesty, be creative, ask questions, and make sure that the supplier you're working with can answer those questions. And I think that's the most important thing.
Thank you. Cristiano, you are a perfumer. And so you work presumably too with a lot of different startup brands who come to you with a vision, with a dream, with a probably quite a strong idea of what they want in most cases. How does a would-be fragrance brand persuade man? So Cristiano works for a fragrance ingredient supply house and perfumer house called Man. And you're big. I mean, you're one of the world's big players. How does a little old startup, somebody who wants to start a brand, come knocking on Man's door and make sure that the door opens?
Well, yes, so in Man we work both for big companies and young startups. For us, the important is the way in which we can interact. Of course, the big brands, they want to get to a broader audience, and and the smaller brands, they come with very innovative ideas. We try to get or to grasp what it can be the next great idea, but most of the time they need to have kind of a business plan behind, because a lot of come in and they are very naive in the questions. They really don't know where they want to go. And it's educational to drive them through this ocean of uncertainty that is building up a brand. It's not only the packaging, but most of the time is also create something new, because everybody is capable of saying, hey, I like this fragrance, but I would like it with a little twist. This is the kind of clients we are, at least I personally avoid, because what nourishes me is the exchange and the growing together and sharing the ideas and having a vision. And only working together you can make it together. And the success of a young startup is going to be my success of the future. So it's a mutual exchange.
Now, Man have some very beautiful ingredients, and
Yes.
you spend a bit of time in the fields. I mean, I was trying to get hold of him to have a briefing call, and I'm sorry, he's in the Champaka fields.
Yes. So I just came back. Champaka is a very special ingredient for Man. We have this technology that we try to reinvent the enfleurage technique. So we take these very delicate flowers like Champaka, which is a magnolia tree. It grows wild 30-meter tall, and people climb it and harvest 1 ton, 2 tons per day of these flowers. And they were carrying it in the factory. And every day we were doing this new process, which is very tiring, actually, under 42 degrees. And the rhythm was quite strong. But again, you get in touch with the people who really dip the hands into the flowers every day. For us, it's just, especially for perfumer, it's just ingredients that we put in a computer, but there is a whole universe behind, and it's our task and our goal. First, to make these people keeping on living on this, and the second, to transform this into something usable to the greatest audience.
Now, we're going to smell a couple of Man's ingredients here.
Yes.
This, I don't think...
This
What
is the
is that?
Champaka itself.
That is the Champaka.
Yes. So the Champaka is a kind of a magnolia, as I said. This is the new enfleurage. Yes.
I mean,
So
if we're talking indoles, there's
yes.
a lot.
This is a very narcotic flower indeed, and it has a very strong cresolic, indolic part. But the most interesting part of this new technique is that it's you really get an impression of the freshly picked flower. We use this also for some jasmines, for the Sambac and the Grandiflorum. And it's really having a bunch of these flowers in the hand and smelling directly. So this already can evoke a brief, can bring a brief, and somebody can say, because like, for example, we were 2 perfumers during this harvesting, and we were start saying, oh, but this is a beautiful experience, and maybe, you know, it's also mango season in Tamil Nadu. So we said, maybe we work out a mango accord and we put it together with the Champaka. Then a client pop up and he said, yes, but I have a sandalwood production. So we already had a story, you know. And this is what animates everybody. Creative people needs to be fueled with creative thoughts like that. And we're already working on the fragrance. So.
Who loves this? It's
great.
great.
It's very unique, and when you see this carpet of flowers that literally can cover the full surface of this beautiful church, you really have this impression of you are overpowered by...
It's very naughty.
Yes.
It's very naughty.
Yeah.
So what are the key questions? If somebody came to you, what are the key questions that you want them to ask you? What do you want to hear from a would-be brand?
Well, again, it's a matter of discussion of everything, and for me, the most important is that they have an objective. That they are not just coming in and saying, "Oh, I don't know what to do. Let's build a brand." You know, they need people with passion, and we are all driven by passion in this industry because it's very secretive. You don't get a lot of spotlights, and you are working behind the curtains. And for me personally, I want the fragrance to talk, you know, and I want people to have a reaction when they smell something. So this is the ultimate goal, especially with people that are starting up and needs to gather attentions and to make other people saying, wow, this is different, or this is another way of reinventing a classical ingredient. This is another great challenge for a perfumer. Like taking, for example, a lavender and say, how can we make a lavender of the future?
And how soon do they meet with a perfumer? I mean, is it initially done through an evaluator?
Well, of course, the industry, it's very complex. Perfumer, we are the execution. We execute the ideas behind. But yes, indeed, there is several steps. But most of the times can be very casual. Can be in a booth like that. You talk with people and you have a good connection, so you can start a project. Some other times, people go through the sales assistant, the commercial, the creative director, or whatever it is. And then more steps you add, the more complex it becomes. I think we need, especially for small projects, we need a human touch.
Mm. So, and can you spot a star? Can you, when a brand comes to you?
We can smell it from far away.
That's what I wanted to know. You must be able to kind of, there must be an excitement when you can see something and you think, yeah, that's going to work.
You need to see the sparkle in the eyes and the willing to do something differently and in challenging also, because you need to challenge the market, because sometimes people they want common smells that they see they works and they want to repeat it on a different angle. But this is, I don't know, it's cutting the angles instead of creating a new line or a new direction.
And so the to and fro. So they give you a brief.
Yeah.
You go away. You come up with how many? I mean, they say they want one perfume. Mm-hmm. You come up with how many ideas? Maybe. I've
Three
literally
to five.
I've been doing this for 35 years. I have no idea what the process is.
So usually when the client doesn't have access directly to the perfumer, they go through the classical system. So they comes in, they say, I have a project, I want to build a brand. In the next 5 years, we're going to launch, I don't know, 10 fragrances. And then they start with 3, and each of the 3 fragrances is submitted to different perfumers within the house. So everybody can give his own interpretation of the idea. Then me, myself, I can say, okay, a rose can be seen like this, like that, like that. Green, floral, or honey-like. And then you give it to the clients, and he decides which one is the best for him. And it's a selective process, and sometimes you get 3 out of 3, sometimes you get 0 out of 3, and it's still a learning process on how to interpret better the client's expectations.
Have we got something else from Man that we can be smelling in a moment?
I think we do.
I think we have 2 more.
We have more ingredients. We have one which is a pepper from Nepal, wildly harvested.
Do you have, I know that some perfumers have a kind of speciality area. So it's like Jordi Fernandez is known as the king of oud. What are you the king of?
I don't know. I think I'm still too young in the industry
prince,
to.
maybe.
The prince, yeah.
The prince.
Maybe I'm still working it out. I like very much sandalwoods or spices accords, but for me the goal is to practice where I'm lacking. So finding the weak points and working on it.
And how important for you when you meet that client is a mood board? I mean, obviously there is no real language for perfume, and so does a visual presentation for you communicate well what
Sometimes
a brand
it happens Of course, a mood board is the most classical way to give your impression, because everybody has an immediate visual associations. So you see a color, you can put it orange with, I don't know, osmanthus, or you can give a direct flower and work around it. But sometimes, other people works with videos. Some other people work with taking you out for dinner. Some people take you for a trip. So it's really, mood board is okay, but it's not the only tool you have for getting an inspiration. Again, communication is the key, because the more you create tools, the less you take out from the creative part.
What
So
are we
this one we are
smelling?
smelling is the Timur pepper. It's a Timur pepper jungle essence, which is our
That's a signature ingredient.
It's a signature ingredient for us, and it's a very special tool. It's a reactor in which you play from pressure and temperature to get the gas at a certain stage. They can pass through the botanical and extract the spectrum of the.
So whenever anybody sees as an ingredient jungle essence, that's a man.
This is our
Trademark.
signature trademark extractive technologies, and we are very proud of it. And again, playing with the temperature and pressure, you can decide if to get it more top notes, more bottom notes. So we can even have different qualities of the same botanicals, which
This is very complex.
It's very complex because it's spicy, of course, but it's woody. It has a citrus part. It goes into the pamplemousse, in the grapefruit.
We were just saying it smells a little bit grapefruity as well. Yeah.
Because it comes from, it's a fake pepper, like pink pepper. So it's not like a real piper nigrum. It's like a
Bay rose.
kind of fake pepper. It comes from the citrus family. So it has this kind of aspect. There are Sichuan pepper is his little cousin, and it goes more into the Mandarin side. And then there is another one that goes more into the bergamot side. So
At Man, how many ingredients do you have at your fingertips?
So we have our office in Milan. Is 2 years and a half that we build up the first creative lab in Italy, and we managed to get more or less 1/5 of the full collection. So we go around 800 raw materials. Total ingredients is around 3,000 to 4,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and naturals, I would say 500 ingredients more or less.
Do we have another one
Yes,
to smell?
I
think we have one more, and then we're going to come on to Sebastien. But I was going to ask you if you had a would-be perfume brand come to you, what would be the single best piece of advice that you could give them from your point of view to get the best brand and the best sense out of you?
Well, I don't know. It's a very tricky question because for me, of course, the aesthetic of the fragrance is important, but I realize we are living in a very visual world. So packaging has its own main, more and more, it's a key role. It brings a key role. But of course, we live also in a world in which we need stories, and people needs to get anchored to those stories. So also the storytelling is very important. So when you find the balance between the three, I think you are spot on and you are ready for jump into the future.
And we're going to smell one last thing before we move on to Sebastien. What have we got here?
So this is a very classical ingredient, another iconic ingredient from perfumery. It's lavender. And here also we have a jungle essence extract. So it's I had the pleasure to go to see the extractions of this in the south of France. We have a special machine that is able to split only the purple flowers to the stem to the stem. Mm-hmm. So you don't get the woody part or the camphoraceous part that much, but you really have the feeling of walking through these fields of lavender. Lovely. It's very poetic, evocative, and modern.
It smells modern because lavender can smell so dusty,
and powdery and cumarinic, yes, indeed. But this is fresh and flowery, and it can It can be used very nicely on female fragrances, especially with these overdoses of sugary and vanillic fragrances. Can give it a cut.
That's fabulous. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Now we move on to Sebastien Tissot, who is the founder of Nisaba. But you used to work for an ingredient house once upon a time. That's how you...
Yes, actually a fragrance house, like Man, but a Swiss one. So we have a big fragrance house in Grasse, like Man and Robertet. In Switzerland, you have Firmenich and Givaudan. So I was working there. And I think that my career completely changed in 2011 because the CEO asked me to fix a problem. It's to reconcile procurement, business, and sustainability about natural ingredient because it was quite a mess. So sustainability was pitching about human rights and deforestation and things like that in principles. Procurement, they were talking about availability, quality, price, things like that. And the business, they want stories, they want specific ingredients. So, and it was a bit
of tension between the different departments.
So it took me like 10 years. I did during 10 years to transform completely the natural procurement to give it a strategic, function. To reconcile this and to meet all those objectives, like the sustainability objective, business, procurement. So basically, I spent 1/3 of my time in the middle of nowhere in India, Indonesia, to really understand, start from the field. So we did a lot of baseline studies, for instance, with farmers to understand exactly the social economic conditions, partnering with also the ingredient suppliers to develop innovative ingredients. And then up to perfumers, a creative database to flag in the data exactly the attributes of ingredients. So I have this complete vision of procurement of naturals. That's my angle, and that's what helped me to build the brand after. Yeah.
And I know from cocoa that you've got to make it worthwhile for farmers to stay on the land to produce those ingredients, because unless they're happy, then they will go off and they'll work in the city, they will go into tech or whatever. So you have to ensure that those precious suppliers are happy.
Absolutely.
But that gave you the most amazing kind of insider's view of the process of founding a brand and creating perfumes. But still, it's a big jump off a tall diving board to go, I'm going to launch my own brand.
No, okay, so just to continue the story, so basically I saw the industry was moving more from a kind of a voluntary impact, motivation, like let's say, let's fix the problems in the supply chains, to more a kind of a compliance, regulations and certification. So it's basically to protect the reputation of the brand and avoid the BBC about Egypt. I don't know, I'm sure you know this story. So basically I saw that the brands were more motivated to protect themselves, protect their reputation, rather than helping the farming communities. So we have 80% of the naturals come from tropical countries and from smallholder. So the only exceptions is the south of France, Italy, and the US for the mint, but otherwise it's all coming from emerging countries. So you have a high poverty, like for instance, the most iconic is Haiti for the vetiver, or for instance, Madagascar with vanilla. So you are dealing with an extreme situation where you are dealing with the poorest people of the world, and at the end it ends up in the most profitable businesses. So then I saw that many brands, they were more looking into the reputation management, and I wanted to continue to do some positive impact programs. So I created the brand to be really the first brand to fund positive impact programs for the farming communities. And so that was the starting point for me, was not to create a fragrance brand, it was to to find a way to finance projects with farmers, basically. So it's a very specific case, and I thought it would be easy, but but no.
It's business. It's never easy. The $64,000 question, or however many dollars it was, where did you get the money from to start your brand? Did you have investors?
So it's my own money, and I have one investor, a small investor. He has a minority. Actually, I thought I would never be able to do a brand, but then I got to know a guy that was worked for L'Oréal, worked for a niche perfumery as a commercial director. So he explained to me how it works with the distribution, the POSM, and all that stuff. I had no clue, you know. So then it's how I could really say, okay, it's possible because this guy is investing in my project, and he explained to me how it works. So I could see, okay, yes, it's possible to do it.
And, you know, what were the baby steps? I mean, when did you first get your foot inside the door of a retailer where you really wanted to list you?
So first, as I was explaining with all those stories, I really thought about the brand platform for like 5 years. Every day it's a bit a dream, from like dream to bottle. And yes, my pleasure. So then I was thinking about that, and then after, so thanks to this gentleman that helped me, so our strategy has been to enter in prestigious doors. So we entered in Selfridges, we entered in Printemps Haussmann, we entered in Bon Génie. I'm from Geneva, so that's a bit the nice place in Geneva. So it helps us credit towards the smaller retailers that we pass through the due diligence of the more demanding buyers. So that helped us. And also we won some awards, Fragrance Foundation Award, Dutch Beauty, other awards. So we got this kind of external validation that our brand was serious, and so that helped us a lot, actually, to get started. And after you do Essence, PT, those fairs, and then you wait for the distributor, the Chinese distributor to come, or the Russian one, or whatever. So this is where you can bring some cash, to
Shall we
to
smell
the cash flow.
one? Shall we smell one? What are we going to smell first? Are we going to smell
I brought
Les
two,
Alpes,
so I have to explain a bit the
which one are we going to do first?
So the way we create fragrance also, it's not with. So we assemble ingredients from one origin, because I'm more a sourcer, So the way I brief my perfumer friends is like I give them a list of ingredients that come from one place. So in this case, you're going to smell two perfumes. So
This is Les Alpes.
one is from Central America. So Central America, the most iconic ingredient is Peru balsam. Okay, so it's come from El Salvador, from only one forest. And the other one is cardamom, because Guatemala happens to be now the main place for cardamom. So basically the starting, and there's also other ingredients locally, but basically, long story short, we did Tierra Maya. Tierra Maya is a amber accord around the Peru balsam, and the top note is a duo of spices, which is like cardamom and cinnamon, which makes a warm and cold effect. Ah non, ça c'est pas. It's not. It's not the wrong. It's a bad story. So that's the other perfume. So the other perfume is about the Alps. I come from Geneva, so it's not that exotic. It's Switzerland, basically. So what grows in the Alps? You don't have a lot of ingredients. You have hay. Hay absolute is an interesting ingredient from coming, and then you have juniper berries. Okay. And you have also pine needles absolute. So that was our starting point. And so it's Fabrice Pellegrin, the perfumer. And so what he did, the top note is with juniper berry, fennel, thyme. So it's a blend of fresh, aromatic ingredients. And then it goes more into a balsamic composition with A absolute and a wood base. So it makes also the illustration of the peaks, the mountains, the glaciers, and then the valleys.
So for you, the story was quite different. The story of your brand was about communicating conscious consumerism and making people think a bit more. But we did that with my chocolate brand, and our values were embodied in the brand. But the reason that people bought it is because it was great chocolate, and the reason that people buy Nisaba is because it's great perfume. So it's like the values are a bonus.
So before I launched the brand, I with my friend, we were discussing and said, what is the main thing and what is a reassurance? So is it like super good perfume and by the way it's sustainable, or is it super sustainability and by the way it's a good perfume? So what is the most important actually? And I didn't know, but now I know. People, it's not that they don't care about sustainability, but really it's about the product. So you need to seduce clients with a product. So it's what matters. So it's really the most important is the fragrance, then it's the bottle and everything, the brand platform, and then the sustainability part, which is something very strong for us. It comes only as a reassurance. Yeah. And then after I discovered that there was some research on that from actually in Lausanne in Switzerland for sustainable luxury. And that proved that if you try to associate luxury with a kind of a charity thing, it doesn't work. It is even counterproductive. It creates a cognitive dissonance, and you don't want to know. You say, no, I just want to treat myself, so don't tell me the story of the poor Indian guy. And so now I come to a point that I don't even tell too much the sustainability part, but I still do a lot. I actually give back 5% of sales to sponsor young people in the country of origin to establish themselves as farmers. Okay, so no one is doing this. Okay, so we have an amazing thing here, but I have to bring that very carefully, because in the seduction, in the sustainable luxury, it doesn't work. People don't want to. It's not what they. The desire to buy a product will not come from that. It will be more about be a loved brand after.
Yeah, after, it's like a gift with purchase.
It's like desire and then love. Yeah. You know.
Shall we smell one more thing? I've been given 5 minutes, but Amanda did say I could go over because there isn't anything else in here. So I'm going to take that so that we can have a little bit of time for questions from the audience in a moment. But can you share, from your perspective, you've been there, you've ironed the T-shirt, put it back in the wash, started again. What's your best piece of advice to somebody who wanted to start a fragrance brand?
Okay, so if you're in the public and you want to start your brand, maybe that's why you're here. So that's the question. Okay, so first what you need to know is that there are, I don't know how many launches per year, maybe 8,000.
I think it's about 8,000
So
now.
it's a very growing business. It's a 15% a year, so it's a big wave, okay? But there's a lot of people because the barrier to entry is quite low. So you need to really have something that is solid because it's really extremely busy. And so what is the most important is a good fragrance. So you need to have a good perfume, so a very qualitative perfume. So you need to work with great perfumers, great fragrance house. I think it's really the number one thing. Then, of course, the product. So you need to have a nice product that is different. You need to have a brand platform that is really coherent. Okay, so it's all about coherence. Okay, so that's the best compliment you can get, is that your brand platform is coherent. And it takes 10 years to build a brand. Okay, so are you ready to suffer for 10 years?
Yes.
And not make too much money?
Probably not make any money, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a marathon. So if you don't have the passion and you do that for, I don't know, you have to be driven by something strong, you know?
And Sebastien and I were also talking about how important it is as a founder to look after yourself during that process so that you don't become exhausted, you don't run out of steam and throw in the towel.
Yes.
He said he's not always the best at
red wine.
I agree.
No, I'm half joking. No,
Only half.
I have a very stable family life. I'm supported always by my wife, I think, and also I come from mountains. So for me, my personal breath is to go in the mountains. I do skiing, a lot of mountain sport. Mountain is my thing, but I think generally speaking, you need to have a stable personal life because it's very difficult to be an entrepreneur. With such a
can be very
competitive,
lonely.
you have to be ready for the war.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a stable personal life, it's even more difficult.
Yeah. Do we have any questions from the audience? And what do we do if there are questions? There is a mic there. Is someone going to run around with a mic? Anybody got a question for any of these amazing experts? There's one at the back.
I have a question about your customer group. How do you identify your customers? Because obviously we have let's say Europe, or we have US, or we have Asia, and the tastes are very different there. And also the tendencies, the trends are very different, and also the climate. So if you go to, I don't know, Miami, it's very hot and humid there. So something which works perfectly in France potentially might not work there because you go out and it's just gone. So how do you identify the audience, or do you start from something smaller, like Europe first, and then you work with other
there are
countries?
some general things that companies like mine, they have consumer insights or marketing, they can help you, and it's well known, for instance, that in China, Japan, they like more green tea or fresh, more discreet. Like in the Middle East, they want more strong. Well, but actually it's changed a lot, because even in the Middle East, you think that they want wood and stuff. It's not true anymore. They are so experts. The guys, they smell so many perfumes that they are really open for more European kind of perfume. On my journey, I have no clue who will be my consumer. I just did the best I could. And then let's see. And now I'm adjusting. So what is important is to have a collection that can please different people. So you need to have more strong, more fresh, more, you have to have different things. And then, yes, after you navigate a bit like this and you enrich your collection, so as you go. But for sure, I see, but you all know that, but there's a tendency for performance, because there's a lot of, the young guys, the TikTok guys, they come with the pictures, they want the strongest stuff they can find. So it's a big clientele. It can be important.
But isn't there a risk, I think, to your point, if you try to please all of the people with what you're doing, you're going to end up with something that's not different, not special, doesn't stand out and give you an identity.
Yes. So you need to have your DA, your artistic direction. You have to have some principles. So I have my principles, for instance, in the briefing stage and in the development phase. So you need to stick to that, so that it's consistent. But then you need to have a collection, and so that you can perform in different markets.
Yeah. Any more questions? There's a hand up in the front row. I think we just have time for 2 more questions, so this one and one more if there's another one. We got a microphone. Oh, we've got a question there. Okay, I'll do you, and then I'll do the lady in the front row.
Thank you so much for your talk. I do have one question. What year did you start breaking even? And also, as we know, we're in quite a visual world at the moment. So your spend, how much did you allocate for marketing just to make sure that it's visible and people know about your brand? Thank you.
Okay, so before I started, I analyzed Eurofragrance P&L. Okay, so if you look at the or L'Oréal, or typically it's 20% of the sales is marketing. Okay, so when you buy your perfume at duty free, you buy 20% marketing, and if you look at the cost of goods, you will see it's really quite small actually. So in niche, it doesn't work like that, and that's what people like, because you are supposed to put more money in the bottle and in the lady that will be on a fish to sell you. But actually, I thought that we could do with very little marketing budget, but actually it's not possible, because it's so busy, there's so much competition that if you're not a minimum visible, it will not work. So you need to accept that you need to invest in marketing, in PR, in social media, in also your e-commerce has to be very well designed. And it's really in the details, and it's also a matter of being consistent and to keep going, okay? Because if you just stop, then someone else will occupy the space. So that's why it's difficult. It's so competitive that you cannot rest, you know? But yes, you need to plan a budget for communication, yeah.
And the last question, before we thank these very kind people for giving us their time.
Hello, thank you for your talk again. My question is, there are a lot of new synthetic molecules that are common now in perfumery, and they're maybe stronger and they can replicate the farmed notes. Or what is the difference between the natural molecules, and how do you create a balance, or do you have a preference?
I think that's a question for Cristiano.
Well, synthetics has been around in perfumery since early 900s, so it's where the first time they used some ionones to give some violet fields, or the coumarin to re-evocate the tonka fields. So it's nothing too alarming about chemicals. We are surrounded by chemicals on a daily basis. And again, naturals are not less harmful than synthetics. We have also the IFRA that is kind of giving some attentions of control levels, for example, for what we call CMR, which is like potentially aggressive chemicals for the skin. One great example is cinnamon. Cinnamon, it's very heavily limited in fragrances, but you can go on a drugstore and buy a full bottle of it without any prescription on it. So again, it's is always finding the limit between use and abuse. So it's a very thin line, but there is no, I feel there is no big pressure on the synthetics and naturals. Of course, it's also in sensibility of a perfumer to use whatever ingredients we want to reach the results. And sometimes I made the same example earlier on in the topics, in the speak this morning. Creating a fragrance which is only 100% natural is like watching a black and white movie. So we want to have these innovative smells or something. And the ratio, it depends really on the effect you want to have. One chemical is one single ingredient. In rose extract or champak extract, there is like 3 to 5 or 600 single molecules. So it's a universe in a drop.
It's a complicated thing.
Yes.
Can we thank this panel very much for their time?
Excellent.